My cousin's diary wasn't something I was supposed to read, yet somehow it ended up changing my entire life. Growing up, I had always felt that something was slightly off in my family, though I couldn't really put it into words. Like my dad's eyes never really mirrored mine, like the way my mother sometimes looked at me with this mix of fear and guilt she quickly tried to cover with a smile, like the hushed arguments behind closed doors that would fall silent the moment I entered the room. I buried those thoughts for years because I told myself every family has secrets, every family has flaws, and mine was no different. But it all came crashing down one summer evening when I was at my aunt's house and stumbled across an old, dust-covered diary tucked behind a box of clothes in the attic. I thought it belonged to my aunt, maybe teenage ramblings she never wanted anyone to find. But when I opened the first page and saw my cousin's name scribbled across it in that loopy handwriting I remembered so well, my stomach tightened. I wasn't supposed to read it, I knew that, but curiosity has a way of breaking down your defenses when the air is thick with secrets. At first, it was harmless stuff. Crushes, school drama, her endless jealousy of how perfect everyone thought I was. But then I reached an entry that froze me completely. It said, "I don't know if I should write this, but it's eating me alive. Everyone thinks Uncle is her father, but Mom said it's not true. She told me one night after drinking that her real dad is someone else, someone in this family, and if she ever finds out, it could destroy everything." My hands shook as I read those words, and the world tilted beneath me. What did she mean? Uncle wasn't my dad? Who was she talking about? I read further, desperate for answers, and the next entry shattered me in ways I didn't think were possible. Mom said it's dad. My dad. She said my cousin is actually my half-sister because her mom had an affair with him years ago. I don't know how to look at either of them the same. I wish she never told me. I dropped the diary, my chest heaving, bile rising in my throat. My cousin's dad, my uncle, was my real father. Everything inside me screamed that this couldn't be true, but the handwriting was hers, the words were hers, and it wasn't a prank or some sick joke. Suddenly, all those moments of strangeness made sense. The lingering looks between my mom and my uncle when they thought no one was watching. The tension at family gatherings, the way my dad always seemed detached from me, while my uncle treated me with a warmth that felt confusingly paternal. My heart pounded so hard it hurt, and my brain was racing with memories, piecing together a puzzle I never even knew existed. I wanted to confront my cousin right then and there, but she had passed away years ago in a car accident, and this diary was the only voice she had left behind. I felt anger at her for writing it down, guilt for invading her privacy, and overwhelming despair, because if it was true, then my entire identity was a lie. I went home in silence, my face pale enough that my mom asked if I was sick. For the first time in my life, I couldn't even look at her without feeling the weight of betrayal pressing down on me. That night, I stared at the ceiling for hours before I finally walked into her room and asked her straight out, "Who is my real father?" Her reaction gave me my answer before her lips even moved. She froze, her face drained of color, and her eyes filled with tears she didn't even try to blink away. "Where did you hear that?" she whispered, her voice shaking. My anger erupted then. I told her about the diary, about what my cousin had written, about how I deserved the truth. She collapsed into sobs, and for a moment, I almost wished she would lie because the truth felt unbearable. "It's true," she finally choked out. "I made a mistake, the biggest mistake of my life. I thought I could bury it, but the past doesn't stay buried." She confessed how, during a rough patch in her marriage, she had leaned on my uncle for support, how one night turned into something that should never have happened, and how months later, she realized she was pregnant. With me. My heart felt like it had been ripped out of my chest. The man I had called dad my whole life wasn't really my dad. The man who was supposed to be just my uncle was actually my biological father. And worst of all, my cousin, my best friend growing up, was actually my half-sister, and she had died without me ever knowing. The walls around me seemed to close in, suffocating me with truths I never asked for. I lashed out, screaming at my mom, asking her how she could live with herself, how she could let me grow up believing a lie, how she could let me love a man as my father when he wasn't even mine. She tried to reach for me, but I pulled away, disgusted and broken. For days, I walked around like a ghost, unable to face my dad, unable to face my uncle, and unable to face myself. The cruelest part of it all was that both men were still alive, still living their lives as if nothing was wrong, while I was drowning in the storm they created. I didn't know who I was anymore. Was I my father's son or my uncle's? Was my life a product of love or of betrayal? The thought consumed me until I finally confronted my uncle one evening after a family dinner. The look in his eyes told me everything. He knew. He didn't deny it. He didn't fight it. He just whispered, "I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you." That was the moment I realized the truth wasn't just mine to carry. It was theirs too. A web of lies and silence had poisoned our family for decades, and I was the one who had finally ripped it open. And now, I don't know how to heal, how to forgive, or how to live with the knowledge that my entire identity rests on a secret no one wanted me to find. Sometimes I wish I had never opened that diary. But then again, sometimes I wonder if fate wanted me to know, no matter how much it hurt, because only the truth, no matter how painful, can set you free.